The play that the top agents are doing is we're actually coming in and listing at market, not trying to go above. And if we list at market, we know it's like a feeding frenzy. It's like throwing steak in a piranha tank.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to know if anyone is going through the same issues I'm going through, going on listing appointments, and the seller thinks their home is worth much, much higher than what the value range is or what the market is going for. They think they're all that and some. And I'm not saying all sellers, but 90%. Is anyone going through that? And we're not talking about a few dollars more or a couple of thousand. We're talking about a lot of money more, lot more than what the market is going for. And they don't care what the value says. They don't care what the appraiser says. They think it's worth more and the buyer should come in with a difference. And they don't care if the lender is gonna accept it or not. So is anyone going through this issue or is it only me?
No, I know. Philip's going through it. I see hands going up. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I know our clients across the country are encountering it right now. Anybody else? I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying, yeah. You know, anytime you have a real low inventory market where everybody's starting to go crazy and there's not enough houses to buy, this is where they go. You know, a lot of them go into this crazy place, Hilda. It is tricky. Here's what starts to happen. Sometimes they do list with somebody else. Have you noticed this at that really high price? Have you noticed that?
It happens, but these two haven't listed yet. I'm checking every day, believe me.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm talking million. They're talking about one of them wants 2 million more, and the other one wants, my wife wants 5.5, but I will accept 5. Bring me a client. It's like, really? It's not worth that.
On something like that, Hilda, take advantage of that 21 days we get of off-market listing with only agents, with only the MLS. You know, the win-win in that is you can let your client know, you know what, let's do it that way. Let's market the property. I'll put it under the coming soon banner. And, you know, in a market where we don't have a lot of inventory, believe it or not, realtors will call in on coming soons. And let's use that as a fair barometer. If we get X amount of calls, X amount of interest, maybe we do get a deal up front. And then if we don't get any attention and we go to the market for the first 2 weeks, then the market's really spoken to us, hasn't it? You know, so being able to show them within that, let's call it 5-week window, it gives them an idea like, wow, 3 weeks with just realtors, nothing. 2-3 weeks with the market, nothing. Wow, it really must be my price at that point. So you still get the contract, you still get the listing agreement, and you're probably having it for 6 months, but then you get 3 weeks absolutely free and then 2 weeks for them to test the market. And then you can still in that time find new motivation for them because they want to sell for some reason, not just to cash out, but maybe you can kind of push that envelope a little bit to help them move in that direction with you and work on them on price if price really is the issue. You know, in that example, it blew up in my face where I listed the property really high, I thought in Canoga Park for $775, and an agent offered $790 with their clients. I thought I was off market by 40 grand. They were right. Someone offered what they ultimately wanted out in that market. So it doesn't hurt to give it a run, especially under coming soon.
That is the part I want to talk about. That was great because that, believe it or not, there's 3 or 4 arguments out there that have persisted forever in real estate. Okay. And this is one of them. Should agents take overpriced listings? Now, Hilda, that stuff was ridiculously overpriced. So I do think that's an anomaly. I do. I think you got a unique, special client there. And I'm not hearing that too much where someone's like 100% over asking price, you know, or something like that. That I think you do have a little bit of unique scenario. You know, moving back, I mean, I do want to clarify one thing. I'm assuming that you're using a very, very deep and thorough needs analysis to really unearth the motivation, right? Because if they're sitting there saying, we don't need to sell, oh boy, I don't even go forward. Like that's out, bye, see ya, I'm out. Then I mean, call someone that kind of is a realtor because I'm here to sell your house. I can't make you want to do that, right? So we have got to make sure we get over the I don't need to sell objection for overpriced listing, because that's fishing, and that's very damaging to the value of their home, right? Because it stagnates, people see it, people start to get a stigma around it that they've been trying to sell that forever, right? So we don't want to do that. Too big of a risk.
So we want to make sure they're motivated enough. That's what you're
Correct.
saying. Yes.
And not only make sure they're motivated enough, we want that motivation to come to the surface of their brain, right? While they're making a decision on price. Because that and only then is when they're going to make the right decision. Then they go to sleep on it. They wake up tomorrow and it's like, well, we don't need to sell. It'd be nice to have $150,000 more dollars, you know, to buy a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? That's stupid starts to sneak in, right? But we got to get them before the stupid sneaks in. We got to go right back to when we unearth the motivation and they remember they really do want to move on because they want to be closer to their grandmother. Or they want to get in that other neighborhood. And there's a lot of benefit that comes from that. And I guess they don't need to, like no one's got a gun to their head, but they would sure like it a lot more if they did sell. When they think about that and they self-discover their own motivation, that's when we want a decision on price. So we have got to do at least 20 to 30 minutes about motivation. And if you don't know how to do that without just saying, why do you want to move? If you don't know how to dig deep into their present self, their future self, if we don't know how to get in there to find out why they want to move and the emotion they attach to moving and what that does for them, what that does for their spouse, what that does for their kids, what that does for their kids' futures. If we don't ask all those questions, we don't really know their best interests. I don't think we have adequate knowledge to effectively represent them. And it also helps them to make smart moves in their life rather than just sit and be frustrated for a year and a half at a ridiculous 5.5 million, you know, whatever price out there, you know. That aside, so that's my first caveat. We gotta dig deep on the motivation. And I'm telling you, the ability to conduct a thorough and effective needs analysis is the most important conversation you can have in business. Would you agree, Albert? I mean, to me, you would not be where you are. I know I wouldn't be where I am without being able to have a good needs analysis and working with people, right? I mean,
or you know, to say it in simpler terms, like actually caring about other people.
Yeah.
When what's important to them, right?
Yeah, it's true. It evidences you do care about it. I mean, you're caring enough to find out all these things that matter and not just anxiously moving right along to price, because that'll sting you sometimes. And I'm not suggesting you've done that, Hilda. It doesn't sound like you've done that based on the prices I'm hearing. You know, like we just got some crazy out there.
I know their motivation already. I know they're going to move to Texas, and I know they found a place on the lake. So I know they're motivated. It's a game that he's playing, and I can't create $1 million more than, you know, what the market is. Well, I can't create a buyer that's going to come in and pay $1 million cash, and you know, he can finance the rest. He's giving me ideas that, oh, this is what you can do. Even to with this market, there's no one would come in with $1 million cash. You would say 25,000, 50,000. I think it's the max, and I've had clients that done that. But $1 million cash over asking what the value is, I mean, who would do that? Correct.
It's kind of a nerve-wracking time to be parting with $1 million, but yeah, it is.
You know,
throwing it out there. Yeah.
So I'm sometimes thinking that I may not want this listing, and then, you know, like maybe he's just playing games. He could lease it out. He can, maybe one day he can get the $1 million extra, but not now, even with this market, you know. Right. But at the same time, I'm thinking, no, I do want this listing. It's a gorgeous house. It's a great area. I do work with doctors, so I may be able to get a doctor in there. But he doesn't even want to put it on the market. That's another thing that I'm going through. So
what I would do is I'd go into MLS and I would search for all the sold listings that were all cash above $1 million. And you're going to find probably like less than 0.001%. And I would say, here is a history of all the home sales above $1 million in the multiple listing service that went all cash. And it turns out that it's like 1 for every 5,000. So you've got like a 0.005. That's probably bad math. I don't know. I'm just exaggerating. A 0.005% chance of selling this home the way you want to. Which means now, after you set it up on the market for a year, waiting for this unicorn that is being ridden by a freaking leprechaun to show up with a bucket of gold to buy your property, everybody's going to be wondering what is wrong with this house so that nobody wants it.
That's right.
And now you've got the scarlet letter of real estate right across your front door. You like all those? See how I go in and out of metaphor? It's so weird. But that's the idea, right? And to me, you gotta call their bluff. Because typically people that are that Looney Tunes with regards to pricing respect the fact that you popped them in the jaw there with a pretty hard conversation. Because that's what a real good doctor would do. A good doctor would say, you know what? You're smoking 3 packs a day. You need to quit. Here's what your lung looks like. You got a year left, or let's start doing the will. That's a good doctor. A bad doctor's like, you know what? Why don't we switch to lights? And maybe, 2 packs should feel like 1 pack on your lung. That's a bad doctor. But a good doctor is going to get in there and kind of call that bluff a little bit and say, that's what I'm afraid of for you. Like, my job is to provide you with all the information that you need to have to make the right decisions. And if I don't tell you this stuff, I'm not doing my job. Does that make sense? Are you okay with that?
Exactly, yeah.
Permission to go further, and then you just keep kind of socking them until they come to their senses. Right? Because now we're talking about this 1.005% of people that aren't going to need an appraisal. And oh, by the way, apparently that same person doesn't really care about paying too much for a house either, because their agent typically is going to look up the comps.
Yeah.
So we really, really are looking for a unicorn here.
Sure. Thank you.
And that's why we never see this happen. I don't want you to go down this road, because even though you want 5.5 million for it, I think you can get 3.5 for it.
3.8.
In this game, you're going to probably end up getting 2.5 million for it. And that's why I don't want you to do it. I'll do whatever you say. And that's the other thing. Now, see that? I'll do whatever you say, though. I put them back in charge because you're the boss. But I need you to hear me out, because that's my job. I got to be able to tell you all the information you need to know to make the right decision. So as long as this is like a disclosure, if you want to proceed down this dangerous path, after that disclosure, that's your choice. And I may even walk down that path with you. But understand, you're going against my advice. And that's what I like to tell people. This is the segue I want to make here on this, because I will say that I am advising my coaches and all of our clients to take a little bit higher price listings than we're used to. Go up and take them, because they're selling. And I don't know why. I don't know why, and sometimes you do have appraisal problems. So we definitely want to guard against that and set our sellers up and explain to them, hey, if it doesn't appraise, you're going to have to drop that price down. But we can try. You can maybe have a 50-50 shot. It's really hard to tell, because what happened back in 2008, they don't want to happen again. So they changed the appraisal rules. So the appraiser's not supposed to talk to me or listen to me anymore. I'll try to anyway, but they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be totally neutral. In fact, I'm not even allowed to pick the appraisal anymore.
That's right.
Because you now have to sell your house twice. You have to sell it to someone on the open market, and then you have to sell it again to an appraiser. See, we are in the only industry in the world where you can find a willing buyer and a willing seller and agree on price, and have some random neutral third party come in and say, you two don't get to have a deal because I say it's not a good one. And that is the truth. So we are the most regulated industry in the world. So even if we are able to find the leprechaun that's willing to pay knowingly well over asking, the appraiser is going to look at the same exact information I'm showing you right now on this CMA. And he's going to come in here in all likelihood and slam it down on you. So if we go up high in price, as long as you go forward down this path with this knowledge, I'll go there with you. But you know what I'd rather do to get your price above? You know how I'd want to get you that 5.5? Here's what I'd do. Here's what everyone's advising us to do. In fact, I intended an entire meeting of our entire company where we were taught that in this market, the appropriate strategy, oh, by the way, this is this meeting, by the way, you are in it, so it's happening. And what happens is when you get in this market with the lowest inventory we've had in the last 100 years, okay? We've never had inventory this low. The play that the top agents are doing is we're actually coming in and listing at market, not trying to go above. And if we list at market, we know it's like a feeding frenzy. It's like throwing steak in a piranha tank, right? Everybody goes at it and they start to bid it up. right? So we price it 3.5 and then it's like 3.75. Why? And then Kobe wants it, or Kobe's family wants it, 4.25. And then like, you know, some celebrity wants it. It keeps working up. Now, obviously a 3.5 to 5.5 is way too high. However, we are bidding things up through multiple counteroffer situations. And that's how we're walking it up to the higher prices. And guess what? When you do it that way, they get very aggressive. And they'll waive appraisal contingencies. They'll waive loan contingencies. And you can get all that stuff negotiated out because you're coming from a position of power then. Does that make sense? In the negotiation. So it's actually a strategy to price it market like hell, try to generate two offers and bid it up. And that's what most people are doing right now. And that's how this market's moving so fast and everybody's prices are going up in every single neighborhood. It's not because they're going out there fishing way above. So if you want to move to Texas, let's go. Philip.
I was going to say, from an appraisal standpoint, it helps the appraiser if you're able to show them multiple offers. Like, you know, I had an appraiser reach out and I shared with them up front that it's going to be difficult to comp this house because of the lack of sales. And there is a lack of inventory. However, you know, I have 5 offers that were written. I can send you all the PDFs, show you exactly that they were at or above our list price. And that's actually helped get our appraisals through, especially in neighborhoods where we don't have any sales happening at 725 or the most recent sales at 640 or 660, showing them that all these offers came in 10, 15, 20% down payment, and that the appraiser is able to use those to a certain degree, showing that, hey, people did want the home. There were plenty of offers that came in above, and that's helped so far. We haven't had an issue thus far with appraisal. And again, all of them, you know, the nearest comp is, we're talking about 30 to 50 grand off the next nearest comp.
Yeah, and I think this is a very big point. That's why I'm kind of telling everybody right now, please get comfortable taking overpriced listings, okay? I'm not saying go crazy overpriced, Hilda, but everybody else, go up. Because what's happening too often is someone else takes the listing and the freaking thing sells, right? And then you're mad. And maybe, or someone else takes the listing and then 30 days later they reduce to what you said because they realized, oh, wait a minute. They were right. That last agent, Hilda, told me this. And now my new agent, Philip, told me this. You know, it's enough. And guess what? The market's spoken. You know, we've had a bunch of agents through. They didn't like the grapevine stenciling in the kitchen as much as I thought they would. You know, I did that by hand, but I thought that was at least worth, you know, $250,000, and that's not there now. So, you know what I'm saying? So that they start to realize, okay, we had to try, and then they come back down. And isn't that what a good doctor would do anyway? I mean, think about it. Let's say in comes the patient, that smoker. Smoker comes in. Smoker says, I smoked 2 packs today. A bad doctor wouldn't say, you know what, are you going to quit? And then the patient says, no. And then you say, okay, then you're not my guy. Beat it. I don't want to deal with the hassle of like notifying your next of kin. That's a bad doctor. A good doctor is going to keep trying, right? Keep trying. And sometimes you take an overpriced listing, you got to keep showing them. Yeah, see, another one sold, not yours. Lower price. Another one went under contract, not yours. Low price. And pretty soon they get it. Sometimes it takes us a while. We're humans. I mean, how many times did someone have to tell you to start going to the gym or start dieting or quit smoking or stop drinking so much or whatever it is? Someone's been on you for a long time and eventually you just listen. And thank God they didn't quit on you. So we as agents shouldn't get so appalled by taking an overpriced listing, because if you pass on one, it's very tempting to blame the next agent that took that high price. Oh, they'll just take anything. Yeah, they also probably going to sell it right now. They also didn't quit on that guy. So going up right now in the lowest inventory market ever, when we have nothing for sale at all, I'd probably go up there and take it. Why are you laughing at me, Philip? You're laughing with me. You're not laughing.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So right now, it's another analogy. But right now you can feel good about this because this is a very controversial thing. Now, if we were in a buyer's market, if we're back in 2008 or 9, you know, I might not take these listings. But right now, I think I'd be taking them. You know, I'd go up there and get them and I'd write them down pretty hard. So that's how I would work it, because right now we need anything we can get. You throw it up there, you'll be shocked at what people will do. There's a lot of people that need to buy, especially if they sell their house. Now they got to go find a house to buy, man. Sometimes paying 50 grand over, 100 grand over is worth the inconvenience, and they'll just do it. And they'll find a way to justify themselves and they're not overpaying. Trust me. It's amazing what they'll do in those circumstances. And you will do your client a very, very, very big service there. So good question, man. These are great ones. You guys brought two really, really good ones in here there. I like that one, Hilda. Thank you. And Philip, thank you too. Those are really good.
Thank you.
I like that a lot. Philip even said our clients just want to save face in front of their spouse. Totally. Yeah, isn't it all about they just want to save face in front of their spouse or their friends? They just want to tell their friends what they sold it for and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of funny how it's so illogical. It has nothing to do with their goals, their family's best interests, or their dreams. It tends to have everything to do with saving face right now, even with you. Like sometimes they get adversarial. Like if you're arguing too much, they want to win the argument with you. You ever feel like that? Like you're the appraiser? Like, what are you arguing with me for? I get paid at the higher price. I make more money up there. Like it doesn't make any sense. But if we're getting in that scenario, we're probably being a little too argumentative. We probably need to dial back and remind them that we're trying to find out their best interests right here and really try to advise them that they're the boss and I'm gonna do whatever they say. But I'll tell people that all the time. I mean, I don't sell real estate, but I would tell people that all the time. I'd say, hey, you want to list this thing at 3.5 million. I'm saying 3 million. If you want to get 3.5, I'd list it at 3. I think you have a better chance of getting a 3.5 if you list it at 3 than you do at 3.5, because we'll negotiate it out. All right, guys. Well, that was a really, really, really good one.